Hello, everybody. This is DonDiva Coaching, your talk radio station. I wanted to start out with our coaching today about what is self-love. Self-love is perhaps one of the most fundamental yet misunderstood concepts in the world right now. Some dismiss it as a New Age ideology that cannot be applied in practical terms. But nothing can be more further from the truth. What I will show you in this practical steps towards developing self-love is learning how to love yourself hard. So, it will also explain what the history and the traits of how it is a core foundation of spiritual teachings. Self-love is an ultimate way to boost your self-esteem, become fully healed, and integrated as a human being. People often come in this idea of self-love, and the idealism of it and the ideology is backwards for most people until they learn to look at the attributes, such as a way for a confident person to walk and observe their traits. But fundamentally, all radical change begins from within. You then start to really value yourself as a powerful creator of your own reality and deserving of love and respect from everybody. Self-love is the opposite of being selfish, self-centered, or self-serving. You cannot love another person unconditionally unless you love yourself first. So think about what that says. Self-love is not about engaging in destructive patterns of behavior or others who create destructive patterns of behavior for you, or turn a blind eye to their destructive behaviors while creating destructive behaviors within yourself. It has nothing to do with arrogance or narcissism or everything having to do with becoming fully whole and integrated as an individual or your individual self-efficacy and self-love. So when you're able to exercise self-love, your life will become much easier. This is because you will not sabotage yourself as much, and others won't be allowed to sabotage you because you love yourself enough to recognize the toxic traits in them. Everybody does with their beliefs about unworthiness, and we all have a love of what we call imposter syndrome. It happens to the best of us. Because, let's Google it. Imposter syndrome can have the average person thinking that they're an imposter. They think that they're not worthy of the accolades and achievements that they deserve. So when we think about self-love versus how we love ourselves versus how others love us, we have to be able to understand that it's not narcissism and self-loving ourselves. We all have healthy narcissism, but there are some people with unhealthy levels of narcissism and sociopathy. So when we think about integrating our full individual self, it includes losing the imposter syndrome and moving to an integrated, self-loving individual. So that you will begin to have beliefs of worthiness versus unworthiness. You will also have much more stability in your life as you will no longer depend on others for fulfillment. Your emotions and reactions will not be volatile, or your reactions will not be volatile in narcissistic abuse syndrome or reacting to people with unhealthy narcissism. And you will actually become detached, but not uncaring, unlike narcissists and sociopaths, but from a lot of stuff that goes on in the world, and become more aware of yourself and mindfulness and being present. Love is the ultimate building block of the entire universe. Humans are born with the arms of loving parents and die with their loved ones around them, ideally. But in some cases, you may die alone. You have to remember that is okay as long as you love yourself and you know you have God's love. We live and die, and we have the words of Gautama Buddha. We think about, in the end, only three things matter. How much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things that are not meant for you. That includes people, places, and things. And in that self, your ability to love yourself and others is really what matters. So how to get there is entirely a matter of self-love, self-efficacy. For this, you have to find out who you are and love yourself unconditionally. So when we think about this in 1 Corinthians 13:4-8, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others, and it does not dishonor itself. It is not self-seeking, it is not easy. So when we think about this in love, and we think about verses, and we think about even when you get married or you're in a relationship, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not self-serving, it is not easily angered, no record of wrongdoings or wrongs are accounted for, and does not delight in evil or evil towards others. rejoices within the truth, always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. 1 Corinthians 13:4, 7 through 8. So when we think about this, and we think about our love for ourselves, we have to remember, if you don't love yourself, no one else will. So let's talk about self-love in the sense of the abundance mindset. We talked about the growth model the other day, and I want you guys to understand this from that and from the abundance mindset and overcoming self-doubt. Because if you don't overcome self-doubt, you can't reach self-love. And you have to have a positive outlook on your life. So one of the hardest things that some people never, ever do is transfer themselves from a person of self-doubt to self-assured that believes in themselves. So when I tell you guys this, you've made opportunities that you passed up or something's happened in your life and it caused a level and layer of doubt. So when you think about that, if that happens to you in your life, you can go to self-doubt, from self-doubt to self-believing in yourself. But this is true even if you've had a level of life-changing, poor upbringing, or even if you've never believed in yourself before or never loved yourself before. So if you believe in yourself, it is within you and your power, and it will change your life completely. So in that, congratulations. Congratulations on getting this and reading what I'm saying and reading through it. What I mean by reading it is reading my words and my voice and the self-love and reading through the layers of the words that are coming out of my mouth. So when I say reading it, it means reading your ability to love yourself and others as it really matters and how to get there and through a matter of manifestation in abundance mindset, moving from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. So as we're reading this in my words and you're reading thoroughly, and what I'm saying is love yourself hard. Live your truth and don't pass up opportunities and don't have imposter syndrome. Soaking it in and implementing the suggestions that I'm giving you in this coaching. Once you do and begin with a short period of time and habit change, you'll start feeling better about yourself, feel more confident and successful, and know that your future is bright and your ability to turn your life around is bright. So ask yourself these questions. What is self-doubt? The dictionary defines self-doubt as a lack of confidence in oneself and one's abilities. This is a very good definition, but it does not fully demonstrate the probability and problems that are caused by self-doubt or imposter syndrome and not believing in yourself. Think about these questions. What are the dangers of self-doubt? How does self-doubt affect your life? Where does self-doubt come from? And most importantly, how do you overcome it? In these next levels, we will give answers to these questions and more. And in these next levels, we'll understand there's levels to everything, and it helps to listen and read between the lines. And take notes as you listen to what I have to say, and you notice issues that resonate most with yourself through your current situations, your marital problems, or your relationship, or life partnership, or work acquaintances, or business acquaintances, or things and whatnot that may not be working well. Everyone has different issues, reasons for the self-doubt and problems in their life, but you are a unique person, and there is no size that fits all answers. So the dangers of self-doubt and how it affects your life is there are many dangers intent or inherent on hanging on self-doubt that you should be able to be aware of and become more mindful. So if you suffer from self-doubt, it's important to understand the type of damage that you're doing to yourself and damage you're doing to other relationships with others. And you continue to hang on to it, but you got to learn how to let go. The art of letting go helps you go from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset, and it's affected most of your past. If it's affecting your present, it can devastate your future if you don't deal with it and come to self-efficacy and begin to love yourself unconditionally. Here's why. Self-doubt damages motivation. When you don't think that you can do much about it, or you don't trust yourself or to do something right, fear can get in the way of doing anything. That is to turn into a severe lack of motivation to do more than what you have, or turning your life around. So just get by. It can affect your entire life because you may feel fewer satisfying relationships, a job you hate, people you hate, or not enjoy life much, or a marriage that you want to get out of, and you begin to realize that marriage is not for you, the relationship's not for you, or that person is the reason for your downfall, or manufacturing of your downfall. Self-doubt leads to regret. Think about what I'm saying. When you miss opportunities, you will have experienced regret. Regret that has left things left unresolved and lead to chronic stress and anxiety or levels of situational depression or marital depression or levels of workplace depression and going to work unhappy or going home unhappy and being unhappy with your spouse, which we call a regular rounds of divorce and evaluating whether or not that marriage can be fixed. If it cannot be fixed, then those are grounds for divorce. So if you think about these things, you can start to become almost morbid in your belief that you cannot experience anything good or happy, and it's essentially as an acceptance of failure. So when you think about this, go from failure to a level of success and seeing a brighter future. Sometimes it takes leaving people who do not love you the right way or have conditional love as long as you're making them happy while they're making you miserable. Self-doubt causes defeatism. If you allow self-doubt to continue, you can start to become almost morbid in your belief that you're going to experience nothing but misery, unhappiness, and acceptance of continued failure to the point that self-doubt stunts self-improvement. So when you have no faith in yourself, it's hard to even think of self-improvement, and others will kick you while you're down. So when you think about this, you can think too much to improve because you can't do anything. Maybe you think that you're a victim of your circumstances to a point that you cannot achieve even if you try. But you have to keep trying no matter how many times people kick you in the teeth. Or you feel some type of level of upset and you get to a point that you feel like, dang, I can't get anywhere. I'm constantly going through things and I'm constantly losing. So self-doubt stifles inspiration. When you don't believe in yourself or others don't believe in you, it's hard to get inspired to do anything new or create anything new. But believe in yourself whether anybody else believes in you. Ending the self-doubt will bring the amount of creativity you already really have within yourself. That illuminated creativity, that inner light, the eternal circle, and the levels of abundance that you can get to once you begin to believe in yourself. So as you can see, many have experienced self-doubt and can be dangerous, and it can get to where there are good reasons for their own work or to work towards overcoming self-doubt and learning to believe in yourself and believing in others, and it starts with you. It starts within. So when we talk about finding the self tomorrow, we'll be talking about how to identify your self-doubt and where your self-doubt lies. So we'll talk about all this tomorrow and knowing how you can develop your self-doubt and self-encouragement and self-improvement and levels of self-efficacy. You can go from a self-described by many names of the soul, the oversoul, the Ataman, the monad of presence of Christos, the illuminated one, to become to illuminate in your inner light, your eternal circle of light, and begin to feel like you can do everything as long as you can believe in yourself and lose the imposter syndrome and go into that point of ownership and owning your self-worth, your self-efficacy, and your ability to do everything and be a perfect imperfection and a former version of your self-doubting self to a self-improved self, self-confident self. So limiting beliefs learned in childhood can help and cause you to go to that point of self-doubt. But when you go to helping yourself and realize what has gone on in your childhood to adulthood, children, adolescence, and young adulthood, you begin to realize where it's coming from, and you begin to love yourself more, and begin to develop a level of self-love that is incredible. The best love you can ever have is the love with yourself. So when we talk about past experiences with bad relationships, if you had self-image and didn't suffer from much self-doubt, but then all of a sudden your time started in a self-doubting relationship that creates a codependency self-doubt, get away from that relationship. It's possible that you allowed yourself to past experience of bad relationships to get in your head and create the self-doubt and experience. It can be from a parental relationship, a friendship, a love interest, a spouse, even a child who is dragging you down and creating self-doubt in your life. These relationships are sometimes defined as toxic relationship. Unfortunately, a toxic relationship can involve any type of relationship, both relatives and non-relatives. So if you have been in a relationship where a person criticizes, cuts you down, provokes, gaslights you, tells you that it's impossible, tells you that it's all that can go wrong, or is even abusive towards you or about your ideas or your growth or where you're going in your endeavors, you may have learned your self-doubt through past relationships and those unhealthy toxic relationships. And if you're still in any of these type of relationships, cut them off. It may be time to end it if you cannot explain to the person that you're going to do what you need to do regardless of their feelings or their opinion or their fear of abuse or levels of provoke and gaslight. The things that I've also gone through and that I have grown through and learned how to get to a point of recovery and leave those people who are narcissistic, toxic, or narcissistic supplies to other people who apply the narcissism, the sociopath that they learn from being trained to be like that as well. So you have to learn how to cut them off. So when we think about bird, where we go to a level of bad work environments, or people who do bird brain levels of sociopathy or provoking gaslighting, or levels of insidious abuse, toxic abuse, programmatic abuse, emotional abuse, torment. When we think about economic abuse, we talk about environmental abuse, we talk about spousal abuse, economic levels of emotional abuse and coercive control, financial abuse, sexual abuse, levels of degradation, levels that things that make you become codependent on their approval, things that you don't need. So when you think about this, you think about bad work environments or bad environments, period, and experiences. So at some point in your life, if you had a bad job or a bad spouse or anything of that kind, or a bad experience, especially when it started with your first job or it started with levels of layers of jobs or toxic workplace environments or workplace abuse or coercive control, provoke, gaslight, emotional abuse, bullying, harassment, all these things, especially those who take service-oriented jobs or lower-paying jobs, or have a bad experience with a high-paying job or a high-stress job and have a bad boss or a narcissistic boss. We have to think about bad management. We think about levels of layers of people who work for those bosses and take on those narcissistic traits. So when we think about lack of those experiences, of good experiences, we think about life experiences that cause us to suffer from self-doubt, and simply due to lack of experience of good experiences, and then that you were overly sheltered in childhood, or were sick, or had issues that caused you to have self-doubt, or if you have a workplace environment that creates the levels of sickness, emotional abuse, torment, and levels of self-doubt. So you have to get to that point that you work away from that organization, that bad, toxic level of narcissistic bosses and management, and you go and find your organization that you can align with that's a healthy tribe, not a poisonous tribe. So when you think about those different experiences, you think about your environment, you think about the zip code, that it can be hard to accept from some people that where you were born with makes a huge difference in how you view the world in your own place and potential in it. So when you think about that, if you have a poisonous environment and you have levels of domestic terrorism, provoke, gaslight, you have a spouse that's terrorizing you, got a provoking, gaslighting acquaintance that's terrorizing you, you got a business acquaintance that's terrorizing you, provoke, gaslit you, stole business models, played in your face, embarrassed you, humiliate you. Then you think about all these different things, it may be that it's time to move. Means that it's time to move from that environment, the poisonous level of people who are not going to grow. They're going to constantly degrade you or humiliate you, harass you, provoke you, gaslight you, and have you acting out of character, something that you don't normally do. So when you think about success and such a falling in that level of not going into a family business or family levels of narcissism, provoke, gaslight, emotional abuse, humiliation, degradation, things that allow you to be in that tribe, but you become a scapegoat once you start aligning yourself to a better self-love and finding yourself. So when we talk about all these things tomorrow, I want you guys to understand where this comes from so we can go into layers of how to find the self. So with that being said, we've been on long enough. I want you guys to understand exactly where this comes from and learning how to self-love from the grow model at levels of from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset to self-love mindset, gratefulness and gratitude, and learning how to love yourself and love the things about yourself that are great. And love is kind. Love does not hurt. Love does not humiliate. Love does not degrade. Love does not mess up your career. Love does not cause levels and layers of loss or grief. So I want you guys to understand that, and I'm going to take you out of here with some good music. Thank you for attending DonDiva Coaching, and thank you for attending this Blog Talk Radio session. Thank you.